Discovery Kids, it's really, really real.
Today on Mystery Hunters, we're on the trail of supernatural creatures. One predicts death.
The other warns of disaster.
I'm going to Ireland to hear the scream of the banshee. When she screams, people who hear her say someone they know dies.
I heard this awful sound, which I knew wasn't a human sound.
And next morning, somebody was dead.
I'm headed to West Virginia, where people have reported seeing a terrifying part man, part bird.
I'm going in there to check it out.
Whoa, what was that?
And we've all seen TV psychics predict the future.
Don't worry about the vape.
What vape? But how did you know?
Doubting Dave shows how you too can pretend to be psychic by reading people's minds. This is Mystery Hunters. I'm going to Ireland to investigate a very special type of ghost. She's rarely seen, but her cry strikes the fear of death in people who hear her. They call this ghost the banshee. Each time someone hears her cry, somebody they know dies. The most famous banshee sighting happened right here on the cliffs of Cragley more than 1,000 years ago. High King of Ireland, Brian Boru, had brought his army to fight the Vikings. The night before the battle, he heard a strange cry. An old woman appeared to him, crying and washing blood-stained clothes. The next morning, King Brian Boru was discovered in his tent, dead. The banshee is one of Ireland's best-known legends. But if it's only a legend, then why do people all across the country still hear her cry?
It happened just around this part of the house. I would have been about 17 at the time.
Pat Hurley said she heard the banshee's wail.
That is when I heard this awful sound, which I knew wasn't a human sound.
More than 100 people in this little town say they saw a strange creature.
All of the sightings happened during 1 year, right here in Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
Did it crawl out of the polluted muck near the chemical plant? Or did it come down from the sky like some kind of alien? It was seen for the first time on Tuesday, November 15th, 1966.
Two young couples were driving along this road when the creature appeared.
Later, they described the creature to the police as a half-man, half-bird with big red eyes.
Their story made the local newspaper the next day.
After that, more and more people said they saw the creature. It seemed to be showing up everywhere, and it wasn't shy.
I could hear the flopping of the huge wingspan, you know, and I thought that it was just going to pick me up and fly away with me. I thought my life is ended.
People started calling it the Mothman after a character from a comic book.
Can you tell me where you saw it?
In the TNT area.
The TNT area. There used to be a weapons factory here. Toxic chemicals from the old factory still contaminate the mud in the swamps. Could chemicals have turned an ordinary bird into some kind of monster? This is where Marcella Bennett saw the creature. Let's see if he's still hanging around.
Scary Saturday Night Sleepover will be back on Discovery Kids.
It's Halloween. Get your freak on! It's time to log on and freak out. Go to discoverykids.com and get your freak on. Freaky facts, freaking good downloads, and if you find a freaky figure, you get a freaky treat. Freak Week on discoverykids.com.
He's scary.
on the Discovery Kids channel. They're smart.
Every one of us.
They're sassy.
Oh, that's bull.
And they're also magnetic, invisible, and constantly disappearing into wormholes.
Deal with it.
Strange Days at Lake Halsey High on the Discovery Kids channel and Saturday mornings on NBC. It's really, really real.
Scary Saturday Night Sleepover is back on Discovery Kids.
I'm investigating the banshee, an Irish ghost that seems to show up when someone's about to die. So can you tell me what happened?
It was about 11 o'clock one night. I was actually babysitting and I heard a strange crying sound coming from outside, like a child crying, very sad, lonely cry. I went to the back door, I opened it, I looked around, I couldn't see anything. So immediately I thought of the banshee. And the next day, our neighbour had died.
This tape might have the answer I'm looking for. Could this be the sound that Pat and Paula heard? Have I found proof that the banshee exists?
I'm down at the old chemical plant here in West Virginia, looking for a creature they call the Mothman. There it is, the entrance to one of the bunkers where chemicals are stored. I'm going in there to check it out.
It's supposed to be like around where she saw it. It said she saw them around one of these bunkers, so. I don't see anything yet. Is there anybody in here? If somebody really wanted to, they could definitely hide out here. I don't like this. I think it's time to leave. Whoa. What was that?
I guess that was just me. I must have kicked something.
Well, if this is the Mothman's home,
then he might have been affected by the chemicals that were stored here. Is that what turned an ordinary bird into a mutant monster? Kathleen Pattenode is an expert on what these chemicals can do to animals.
is it possible that pollution could create a mutant animal?
Oh, sure. This is a picture of some bird embryos that were exposed in the egg, and you can see that the one on this side, the legs aren't normal, they're half the size that they should be, and it doesn't have any eye, and that's a result of being exposed to selenium.
But I'm looking for a bird the size of a man. Could the pollution here cause something like that?
There's not any evidence that chemicals cause things that are part man and part bird, or man that would have wings.
Okay. Maybe it isn't a mutation, but how do you explain what so many people saw? People like Faye Bowen.
Yes, I was about 12. We decided we were going to come out here and just see what was going on, whether it was a hoax or somebody in a Halloween costume. There it was, running right alongside of my car. We got out of there because we never seen nothing like that in our life.
So can you tell me a little bit more about what it looked like?
It was white with sand in it, a sandy color.
Jordan Wan is an artist who can draw a picture of something based on people's description of it.
And it was gray in color, but it was feathers instead of skin.
And it did have the claw feet, like a dinosaur Rex or something.
Yeah, claws, T-Rex claws. I think what you're after looks a lot like this.
Is this what people saw in Point Pleasant? And was there a reason it appeared in the town that year?
Some people think the Mothman may have come to town to warn people about a terrible accident that was about to happen.
Hi, we've got a great email today from 12-year-old Irina Harrison of Bradford, England. But first... Whoa. Strange dream. If you think that was weird, get a load of this email I got from 12-year-old Irina Harrison of Bradford, England. She had a dream that freaked her out, too. Dear Doubting Dave, a few weeks ago I was sleeping, and I had a dream about school. In the dream, I was in class, and I got my math test back, and I saw my score on the test.
Teacher's pet. Teacher's pet. I'm gonna marry a calculator.
The next morning, I woke up and did my normal stuff before going to school. But then, when I got there, I was sitting in class, and everything was just like it was in my dream. I even got the same score on my math test. Teacher's pet. Am I psychic? Well, Irina, some people call the kind of dream you had a precognitive dream.
Can't seem to find that carrot. Oh, hi, Dave.
Hey, Wiggles.
I'm looking for my carrot.
There are supposedly two kinds of precognitive dreams. The kind where you see something in your future you can change, and the kind where you see something you can't. Let's start with the kind you can. Suppose you dream about a boat ride you're planning on taking, and in your dream, the boat sinks. So you wake up that morning and you decide not to get on the boat. You go down to the docks, you watch it cast off, and lo and behold, it sinks. The question is, was this dream precognitive or just a coincidence? And the answer is, there's no way to know.
That's right, Dave.
In fact, nobody has ever proven they've had a precognitive dream. There are stories about people who wouldn't get on a boat or a plane because they had a dream the night before about a crash, then the boat or plane actually crashes. But that doesn't prove anything, because way more often, people have dreams about accidents and disasters, and they never happen. Of course, your dream was about a test you had already taken, which you couldn't change. Let's look at it from a scientific point of view. You go to school every day, so you dreamt about school. You knew you were going to get the results of your math test back, so you dreamt about that. Nothing psychic there. You did see the score on your math test in the dream, and it did match the score on your test in the real world, so that's something, but even that could easily have been a coincidence. There just aren't that many scores to choose from. So, Irina, I don't think there's any real proof that your dream was psychic, but I do think it's a cool coincidence. Do you want to see something else that's cool? I floss my brain!
Whoa, what a weird dream about Dave.
Man, I gotta lay off the spicy food before bed.
Scary Saturday Night Sleepover will be back on Discovery Kids.
This Halloween. Time to log on and freak out. Go to discoverykids.com and get your freak on. Freak Week on discoverykids.com. Better hide your seal pops because Kenny the Shark is on the loose.
Kenny!
Kenny the Shark.
On Discovery Kids.
Yippee!
Scary Saturday Night Sleepover is back on Discovery Kids.
Over 100 people in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, reported seeing a strange creature. They called it the Mothman. Was there a reason that the creature appeared at that particular time? Here's an old picture of Point Pleasant. Wait a minute, there's a bridge in it that isn't there anymore. There it is, December 16th, 1967. The Silver Bridge in Point Pleasant collapsed, and 47 people died. The first time the creature showed up was exactly 13 months before the bridge collapsed. After the accident, he was never seen again.
Is it possible the Mothman was trying to warn people in Point Pleasant about the bridge? Or did it cause the tragic collapse?
Richard Fields is an engineer.
Some people believe that the Mothman is responsible for the collapse of the Silver Bridge. What do you think?
Well, I don't think that that's what happened at all. On that night in '67, this bridge filled up with cars.
It was so heavy with cars that night that a piece called an eye-bar cracked.
This piece broke off. This eye-bar fell. Then this pin came loose, and that whole side of the bridge was now free to begin to fall.
Once one piece falls off, the whole thing falls apart.
It's the weakest link that caused the failure.
This is the exact location where the Silver Bridge once stood, and where 47 people died. It seems that science can explain why it collapsed, but no one knows for sure what it was that people saw that year, or why it came to town.
Is the Mothman real? I can't say. One thing that is real A lot of people say they saw him. The whole thing made such an impression on the people here that they put up a Mothman statue.
One thing's for sure, the people of Point Pleasant will not soon forget the Mothman or the lives that were lost in the Silver Bridge disaster. Doubting Dave?
Hey, Raya. I'll be right with you. Don't worry about the vase.
What vase? Sorry.
I said don't worry about it.
But how did you know?
Ah. What's really gonna bake your noodle is, would you still have broken it if I hadn't said anything? All right. You're here to ask me how you can fool people into thinking you're psychic, even though you're not.
That's right.
I also see you have some conflicts with your family to deal with.
Yeah. My little cousin keeps borrowing my video games without asking.
And what's going on with your financial situation? It seems to be fluctuating.
Yeah. I lost my wallet this morning.
Some money, your bus pass,
Yes?
and something special to you.
Yeah. I had a picture of my first cat, Twizzle. He died when I was 5. But how did you know about him and my money and my cousin?
I didn't! You told me about your wallet, you told me about your cousin, you told me about your picture of your first cat, Twizzle. All I did was ask you a bunch of vague questions, and you filled in the rest.
Is that what fake psychics do?
That's part of it. It's called fishing.
Show me how to do it.
That's what I'm here for. All right. You start by asking a general question about health or relationships or money, something everybody has an answer to. Then, when the person answers, you start reeling them in, asking them more questions based on their answers, using probability and statistics to help you look psychic, like, I feel like your financial situation is fluctuating, which pretty much describes everybody on Earth. And they say, oh my gosh, I lost my wallet this morning. And you say, oh, your money, your bus pass, and something special to you, because almost everybody has something special in their wallet. And they say, I lost my picture of my first cat, Twizzle. And then you keep asking them questions until they've told you a whole story.
But at the end, they think you've told them their story.
That's right. Sometimes they do most of the talking, and they actually remember you saying things they said themselves.
But what if you make mistakes along the way?
Ah. You just keep going until you get something else right.
Are you telling me that people will only remember the things that you got right?
You got it. Whoa, Nelly.
So you're saying that people will only remember the things that are important to them, like what you got right, and forget the things you got wrong since that has no meaning to them.
It's called selective memory.
Thanks, Dan and Dave.
Scary Saturday Night Sleepover will be back on Discovery Kids.
This Halloween. Time to log on and freak out. Go to discoverykids.com and get your freak on. Freak Week on discoverykids.com. They've never been seen before. Until now. Hey. Real tunes on the Discovery Kids channel and Saturday mornings on NBC.
Scary Saturday Night Sleepover is back on Discovery Kids.
Could this be what the banshee really sounds like? Professor Patricia Lysock is an expert on the banshee. This is her tape. Is this a recording of a banshee?
No, this is a recording made by a woman who might cry at a funeral. But people said that the cry of the banshee was a bit like that. I've spoken to hundreds of people, and they will tell you the cry was heard, and next morning, somebody was dead.
Do you believe in the banshee?
People have told me they've heard the banshee and that somebody died. I don't disbelieve them.
It seems like people are definitely hearing cries in the night. But are they really coming from the banshee? Or could something else out there be making those eerie sounds? Chris Wilson thinks so. He's an expert on birds and their calls.
Now that's the barn owl's call.
It's pretty creepy, but do you think people could be mistaking it for the banshee's cry?
Why not? It's a really strange noise, as you can hear. But in fact, there is another sound that I'd like you to listen to. That's creepy, isn't it?
It's pretty weird.
Well, that's actually a Manx shearwater, and they are just over there on the island.
That's just across the water from where Pat Hurley heard the banshee. Is it possible that this is what you've heard?
No. No, it was nothing like that. No animal could make this sound.
No, definitely not. What I heard was like a child crying, very lonely, sad cry.
Paula and Pat don't think what they heard was a bird call. I wonder what else could be causing those sounds and why. After Paula and Pat heard those sounds, somebody died. Maybe there's a reason that people hear strange noises and think it's a banshee. Maybe they have a reason to want to believe in the banshee.
Remember, she is crying for the person who is dying, and what she's doing is she's telling everyone in the community, there is someone in your community dying.
So rather than it being something scary, a scary type of experience, it's actually quite comforting.
It's actually very comforting, and that's why I think people believe in it so long. I mean, there are still people today who believe in it, young people who believe in it. It's something that belongs to families, and it makes death perhaps a little bit more acceptable.
So does the banshee exist for real, or only in people's imaginations? According to the legend of Brian Boru, the banshee is supposed to visit every member of his family, even today. I managed to track down Connor O'Brien, a living relative of Brian Boru.
Yes, I'm 32nd in direct descent from Brian Boru. He's my grandfather 32 times removed. I've never heard the banshee myself, and I don't know anyone, any O'Brien relative of mine, who has ever heard the banshee.
Do you believe in the banshee legend of Brian Boru?
I personally don't believe in the banshee. I believe that Brian Boru certainly heard something before the Battle of Clontarf. When you were up in Craiglee, you might well have noticed the sounds of the wind through the trees, the sound of the wind through the stone.
Yes.
Sometimes can play tricks on the ears and make strange noises and interpret as maybe something, the sound of the banshee.
So it's very possible that people are mistaking strange sounds in nature for the banshee's cry. But one thing's for sure. For many of the Irish, hearing a wail in the night makes them nervous of what news they'll wake up to in the morning. Hey, maybe after someone dies, people think of the banshee legend. Then they remember a sound from the night before, like that owl or a cat.
And they convince themselves that it must have been the banshee.
Yeah, it could be.
So maybe the banshee and the mothman are just myths, but they do remind me of a legend that's been going around the lab here for ages. Apparently, people hear a strange wailing sound that builds and builds and then someone makes tea.
Remember, things aren't always what they seem.